Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My first guest tonight. Mike, can you tell everybody who our first guest is tonight? Well,
Come on, Mike.
okay.
Do it right.
I'll try my best, Joe. I'm sorry, buddy.
That's okay.
Joe is right. Okay, I didn't say anything bad. Joe Bastianich.
No.
Bastianich.
Close.
I'm sorry, Joe. My name is hard to say too.
Joe, how would you pronounce your
Now,
name?
let me hear this. Go ahead.
Bastianich.
Bastianich. Now, I just figured out. I'm sitting here talking to you,
Right.
and you look very familiar to me because obviously you're a player in the food business. You have a band, but I just figured out probably where I know you from.
Where?
Are you Lydia's son?
Exactly.
You are. Lydia. Okay.
Lydia Bastianich had a cooking show on PBS for the
Right.
last 20
Okay.
years.
Lydia's Italy.
Lydia's Italy, which I have made guest appearances.
Yes, you've been on there several. You come on, you join her with a glass of wine at the end.
Right.
Can I just say how big of a fan I am of your mom? Oh my God!
I'll let her know.
Oh my God! Has anyone here ever watched Lydia's Italy?
I have.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh, the food, the way she makes food, it really is. And you inherited this skill.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm not a cook, but she's truly.
Oh, you're not?
I mean, I can cook, but she's truly one of the great stand and stir chefs, as they say. Like when she's making that food, it's the real deal. She's cooking.
Yeah, something happens to you. Like it's really like watching a great poet or something.
Right.
You really go to another level with food, the way she cooks it, and it's just every little thing she adds is just brilliant.
She's totally like Mama Italia, and you know, like when she's done cooking those dishes, she's feeding all the camera guys on the set. It's like legit.
My mother is going to be very excited about this. Anyway, well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So now you are involved in Italy.
Yes.
Now, but you say you're not a cook. Why do you say that?
You know, because I'm a restaurateur and a winemaker. I do a lot of things in the food world.
You're more of a businessman.
Yeah, I have
say?
my partner Mario and my mother are chefs.
Mario
Proper chefs, and I'm just like a food guy, entrepreneur, and I've been running restaurants my whole life.
Right.
I grew up in the restaurant business. My parents, my mother Lydia, they've had that since the late '70s, and before that, they had their restaurant in Queens. In Forest Hills on Queens Boulevard, which they opened up in 1968, the year I was born. So I've always kind of grown up in New York restaurants. The New York restaurant scene has been my life.
I've taken several first dates to Felidia, and it always guarantees you a second date, even if the person hates you. The Villa Soboco. Oh my God, I can't even get into it. Danny, did you ever go to Felidia?
It's one of my favorite restaurants in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. So now you also play in a band. So you're what you call a Renaissance man.
Well, not really. I mean, the band and the music thing is a privilege of getting to a point in your life where you can indulge in that kind of a hobby. And you know, I love the music. We write our own music, and you know, to get to trade off on the fact that people want you to show up at things, you're like, all right, I'll show up, and I get to play with my band.
Play with the band, sure. It's great. Well, listen, it's a fine trade-off for us. What do you play? What kind of music?
So we play a lot of, we do some covers. We write a lot of original stuff as well, and it's kind of like a rock country vein to it. And we rock a little hard, and we do some ballads and a little bit of everything.
Where'd you go to school? Where are you from?
So I went to school. I grew up in Queens.
Right.
Went to Fordham Prep in the Bronx for high school, and then went off to Boston College for university. But
now, was it just that classic Italian American experience, or I mean,
very much so. Growing up in Queens in the '70s, I was the first kid in my family. We grew up in an Italian American immigrant family with my grandmother and my grandfather lived in the same house. My parents worked in the restaurant. I worked in the restaurant, and I was the first kid in my family to go to college.
Food was your life in a way for a lot of it.
I mean, it's how we made our living. It's how we lived our lives. Food was what was important every day in the home. So it was like, the classic New York, Queens, five-borough existence, and how New York was in the '70s. The sad part, New York, that's gone.
No, it is. A lot of that personality is gone. But I think it's a safer city, but we paid a big price there. And a lot of the personalities out of there. I totally agree with you.
New York, the island of Manhattan now is relegated just for oligarchs and billionaires who can buy apartments here, and the real New Yorkers have to live in Queens and the Bronx, and that's still fine. While they can still do that, and then there'll be a day when New York is just a place for rich people, and there will be no New Yorkers left, which will be sad.
You're right. You hit a good point there, and also the sense that the phoniness, the contrived aspect of it. When I first went out to L.A., because I got into comedy and stuff, and I had to move out to L.A. First, I went out there in my mid-20s. I said the basic difference between New York and L.A. is the authenticity thing. I landed, and I happened to be lucky in the sense that I landed. I had a screen test for a television show, and I got on a network TV show the first time I went out to LA. So I had money when I was out there and everything, and I was staying at a hotel. I was at the May Maison, right by the Beverly Hills, the Beverly Center. And after my screen test was over, I had a bunch of I found that I got the part, and I was relaxed. I had a few hours before I was going to meet a bunch of friends out to celebrate. And I said, take me to the Sunset Strip. Where is this? We went right up to La Cienega by the Comedy Store and everything. And it seemed to me like Disney built a Sunset Strip ride. Right. It didn't seem like nothing in New York was like, if you say to New Yorkers, take me to Times Square, it feels like Times Square. It feels like something gritty. It felt like someone built something, and now the meatpacking district in New York City,
gone.
That's what it feels like.
Gone.
It feels like that's the new hip place to party, but it feels like Disney built a let's party in New York City experience.
I remember the old days in the 80s of the meatpacking district with the Vault and the sex clubs and Frank's Steakhouse, and that was like the real deal meatpacking district when there was like dead chickens on the cobblestone street, like rotting in the morning, when you're getting out of the clubs at 5 in the morning. That was the smell.
No, it was New York.
Yep.
Now, can you explain to a guy like John who grew up, without any of this? By this, I mean personality.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the classic waspy guy from Central Pennsylvania who has no real personality to him. Can you explain? do you hear about this? Are you jealous of this? Or do you feel robbed of something?
Not really, because we would come up to New York City for field trips or to come up and see.
Now, do you realize we loathed you?
The Nutcracker. What's that?
You realize we loathed you.
Yeah, I know, and because I do now, I get caught behind these people.
I think we still. But the only thing worse from being in LA is the people in New York who come here, make some money, and then declare themselves New Yorkers. That really pisses me off.
John.
It's like, I'm a New Yorker. Like, where are you really from? Like, I was born in fucking Seattle. You're not a New Yorker.
Yeah.
You can't curse.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. We're on the radio, but exactly.
I don't consider myself a New Yorker. I do enjoy the city quite a bit, though. It's wonderful, and I've only seen the Disney-esque meatpacking district and all the. I don't see the grittiness.
Well, it's gone.
There.
That's what we're trying to say. Like Manhattan,
I like it. It this way.
There's no bad neighborhoods left in Manhattan where you could send a tourist as a joke.
Right. I was always afraid of New York City. I always thought that's what New York would do. That it would mug you. New York would attack you on the streets and take your wallet. I would always put my wallet in my front pocket and be careful and. Now I realize it's not.
There was
not
like
quite
fear
that way.
and respect. Like when I was a kid, we used to come into the city, go on 8th Street, and you go to head shops and buy sneakers. And on the 7 train, you go through like Sunnyside, Queens, and some dude would like steal your sneakers.
Really?
Make you take them off. Yeah, you have to go home barefoot.
Wow.
On the train. And that happened to me.
That happened to a couple of friends of mine where they got their
sneakers off. Like no, I'm gonna beat the shit if you don't take your sneakers.
We used to get fake ID. We used to take the bus and to get fake ID, and you could get everything from one college. It was called Seneca College. Was the college you can get? You could get a driver's license, a pilot's license. The guy would go, "What do you want to be, a surgeon?" Everything was for sale. And Times Square were like people sitting in front of these porn theaters with like knitting needles coming out of their foreheads, and like with a broken appliance in their hand trying to sell it to you. And now it's not only like Disneyland; it's literally Pluto and Mickey Mouse, but now they're starting to rape people.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see these? Have you read these stories lately where like Pluto and Mickey Mouse are the guys in these outfits?
They're like groping women from Ohio.
They're groping kids. Yeah. Oh my God, it's getting a little crazy. Now, where do you call home now? Do you live on Manhattan?
I live out in the suburbs and with my family in Connecticut, but I'm still very much spiritually a New Yorker. I come into work in the city every day. I do the show out in LA. I live in LA. I do the same show in Italy, so I live in Italy, some in LA. But
I was going to say you have
home is New York.
You have a presence in Italy. Then.
I do.
Yeah. What part of Italy is your family from?
So near Venice is where a city called Trieste. And I do the same. I host the same show, MasterChef in Italy, which we shoot in Milan. So I'm in Milan 3 months a year, and then I make wine in Italy too. So
beautiful life.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You've given yourself a great life. Now, is your mom? How old is your mom?
My mom's 66, 67.
Oh, okay, yeah, she looks good. Is she still really involved in work?
Yeah, big time. She's big time involved in Italy with me and Mario, and she still does the TV show. She writes about a book a year. She has a restaurant in Felidia, which is like 35 years running. I think it's one of the longest standing running locations in Manhattan of a restaurant.
Is she still there a lot?
She's there all the time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, between Italy and Felidia, you'll definitely find her if she's in New York.
How did the Italy thing happen? Because it's fascinating.
He went there. He really went there. It was like it was like going on literally a ride of food. He couldn't believe it.
Well, it's a very experiential thing. It's kind of overwhelming there because you go there to eat and you want to shop, and you go to the shop and you want to eat, and it's just like this cacophony of olfactory and food senses all happening to you at once.
I eat myself sick there.
Yeah.
Every time. I really do. But I love it. I enjoy eating myself sick. How did you ever conceptualize that sort of thing?
So it was conceptualized by an Italian guy, an entrepreneur named Oscar Farinetti, and he did it in Italy once, and it was very successful. And then he wanted to open in New York. He found me. We partnered, and we opened this one in New York, and it's been wildly successful. We're building Chicago now, which will open up in October, and then Los Angeles, which will open in La Cienega.
Oh, okay. Now, what do you think about the old rap of L.A.? Like, I found good food in L.A., good Italian food, but I felt the only problem was you had to go to a really nice, overpriced restaurant to get it. It was hard to find casual, good Italian food.
It's changing. Me and Mario opened a restaurant in L.A. 6 years ago called Mozza.
Right. Okay. I've been there. Yeah.
Which I think, in a lot of ways, not because we did it, but the food scene in LA changed after that. And what LA has that New York doesn't have anymore is still low rents. So you can get young, upstart, more hipster type kids who are opening up these more progressive farm to table restaurants. And there's a huge movement in very progressive food right now in Los Angeles. And you can eat well without spending a ton of money. And that kind of very upstart artisanal food and wine scene is very much alive and well in places like Venice Beach and obviously Silver Lake and Echo Park. But even in West Hollywood and Hollywood, you're finding more and more restaurants.
Good. Good. If I ever have to live out there again, which I'm sure will happen, I'll probably have to play the fat neighbor on some bad sitcom. And I'm gonna make sure I get out there. And if I want to be a fat neighbor, I'm gonna make sure it's for good reason. Well, Joe, listen, you're gonna come back and play with the Ramps for us at 11:05. We do a song, another song at 12:05. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Nice chatting old New York with you. That's one of my favorite subjects.
Listen, absolutely. And tell your mom I said hello.
I certainly
please.
will. You should have her on the show. She'll come on.
Would she really?
Yeah, maybe we should cook for you guys.
Oh, that would be like Springsteen playing Born to Run here. Okay, we'll see what happens. But we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks,
man.
Artie.
And Joe will be back to sing with his band in about 20 minutes or so.